Most, I want to give all of the praise and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashem Rakak Wadash, and double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone that have taught me this truth, and to include the elder bishops on down. And it's your brother Laban. And what I want to get into is this news over here that I find interesting. As you can see in these articles here, saying that Israel may be running out of interceptors. And even in this site as well, Iran war, as this reads, Israel tells U.S. it's running low on missile interceptors. And so you have this guy over here, which, I be paying attention to Glenn Dyson. He brings out a lot of good information, and he brings hosts on like this guy over here and many others. And, what this man is saying here is, which I can agree with what he means, because right about now it's just not going according to plan, is it, with the U.S. and Israel in terms of Iran is concerned. And speaking of their plans not going accordingly to, I don't want to jump the gun, but I just want to briefly talk about something that I found out today as well, is that DJ Trump, he's announced that he's angry at NATO overall in terms of their response with Iran. And there's been a lot of pushback in regards to that, in regards to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization overall, which is supposed to be inside of America. And if America is standing on towards getting at Iran, then they should do the same thing as well. But that's not the case. Britain has taken a stand back, and he's been angry at that, and he's now angry at the whole of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. All right, and I'm going to talk about that as well. So anyway, this right here is just going left for Esau right now, and it's just like I said when I was out live in the park, and I mentioned some key words, is that from now on, from this time on forward, everything that Esau does, especially if it's wrong, it's just always going to backfire. This is the time we're in. We're in a time where Esau is now experiencing where nothing seems to work correctly in their agenda. All right, so I want to play maybe about 21 seconds into this video, because this guy is going to say something that I think is, important information. Because this guy, he's going to pretty much tell it like it is and how he sees it. And so without further ado, let's play it.
Only the right thing to do from the point of view.
So, Lockie, let me take this off. And let's bring this back.
From the point of view of the world economy, the right thing to do from the point of view of U.S. security, but the thing that would keep Israel safest as well. In other words, this war is to nobody's advantage. It's a pure lose, lose, lose all around. Lose for Israel, lose for the United States, and lose for the rest of the world.
And what he's saying is the absolute truth, because that's exactly what it's going to end up being. If this war was to be fought, and I'm talking about the Third World War, literally, because right now we're in the Third World War, but I'm saying when all of these nations get involved, and this is something that we've been saying before this has been said, this proves to you that, once again, there's no doubt that we got to be the prophets. All right, because we've been saying this. We've been saying that when these nations get it in, when that time permits, there ain't going to be no one winning in this war. It's just going to be an L situation. We've been saying that. Now he's saying it based on what he's seen. All right, and Jeffrey Sachs, he ain't no fly-by-nighter. He's got years in his profession to know what it's going to result to. So we've been coming from a place of prophecy, and he's coming from a place of, having the knowledge of what he knows, and he's seeing it. So if you got a bunch of men saying the same thing, one from a knowledgeable standpoint and one from a prophetical standpoint, then the case has to be true that these nations, no one is going to win out of this situation. All right. And what I want to do is I want to read this scripture over here, because I want to tie this into what I just read over here in regards to these articles with the US running out of interceptors, allegedly, right? Is that these devils, as Job puts it, the prophet Job puts it, right? Because he lived around them, so he saw what they were gonna do, what they are, and as well as we're now seeing who they are. And as Job puts it in Job 30 and verse 8, they were children of fools, yea, children of base men, and they were violent in the earth. And they're all of that in one. They're vile, they're base, which means the same thing, which means to be low or base. So with Esau, when Esau doesn't get their way, what do? Do they play fair continually? No. They go dirty. And that's what we're going to begin to see. So that's why I can't agree with Jeffrey Sachs when he says that Israel is going to go nuclear. Now, I didn't see all of this, as you can see. I'm 4 minutes and 41 minutes in, right? Originally, I would say maybe 4 minutes and 25 seconds in, because I haven't watched this whole thing yet. But I just wanted to play a few seconds in to show you what he's saying. And he's absolutely correct when he says that no nation is going to win out of this. It's just going to be a lose-lose situation. And you know what? Prophecy backs this up very well. This is the same stuff that we was bringing about for all of these years. And now you have men that are substantiating prophecy, which is our point of view on things. All right? So that would then make us the true prophets of the Lord. Very simple. Isaiah 34 and verse 1. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. And this is the message. For the indignation of the Lord Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. And he hath utterly destroyed them, and he hath delivered them to the slaughter. So it didn't mention a nation. It says upon all nations. So all nations are going to have the weapons of his indignation, for the Lord's indignation to be upon all nations. And what I want to do is I want to read another precept to tie that in as well, right? And I want to read, if I'm correct, Isaiah 9 and 6. Actually, no. This is a good scripture I could read, but this is not the one I want to read. Let me do this. Yeah, this is it right here. Where can I start? All right. Yeah, so anyway, this is Isaiah 13 and verse 5. And they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, and even the Lord Yahweh, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. So the weapons that can go from a far country are intercontinental ballistic missiles. All right. So this is going to be the weapons of choice of the Lord, which the Lord have given them the mind, or should I say better yet, the knowledge to create such a thing. And that's what they did during the Manhattan Project back in the 1940s, especially with this guy known as J. Robert Oppenheimer. You know, he was the one among many scientists which, he worked with, or that worked with him, should I say, that helped create this destroying weapon so that nations can possess it later on. And then he was being interviewed. And when you watch the interview of him, he didn't look happy at all. And he even quoted the a quote from the Bhagavad Gita, if I'm saying that correctly, that he's become the destroyer of worlds. So when he was on his journey of creating a weapon like this, he didn't understand until it was already done, because the Lord gave him the knowledge and the understanding and put his will inside of him to fulfill this deal over here. So now it was once upon a time that America just had this weapon of mass destruction, as they've tested it out on the Japanese, right, in 1948. And so, as I'm going to say, this time around, now these nations have the same weapon. So therefore, all of these nations have become superpowers. And they've become superpowers for the sole purpose of the Lord's indignation. All right. So these countries are going to use these weapons of mass destruction to grind their societies to a halt. All right. And this is the Lord's doing. This is going to be the Lord's purpose being brought to fruition. This is what we see happening. Okay. So let's read this again. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. And let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth out of it. Right? Come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury upon all of their armies. And he hath utterly destroyed them, and he hath delivered them to the slaughter. And their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up, and out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. So there you go. So that's all I'm going to read. I'm going to read these 3 verses, and I'm going to tie this in with Joel, the 3rd chapter as well, because in the book of Joel, chapter 3, it lets it be known that the Lord is going to awaken the heathen to come up to the valley, as you can see it over there, the valley of Jehoshaphat. Joel 3 and verse 12. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all of the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get ye down, for the press is full, and the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. So that's what it means, that the harvest is ripe. So we're approaching the time when the harvest is going to be ripe, because what? Wickedness would have reached to its pinnacle. This is the grand reason why, right? Which, let's involve the affliction that they've put upon our people, the nation of Israel, that they've put upon the Lord's people, should I better yet say instead. So this is the reason for this Third World War, right? So I want to amalgamate that with what I was originally going to say, is that wickedness has waxed great on the face of the earth. So yeah, we got the affliction of our people that these nations have done unto us, and then we got to look at that as well, what I just said. So these are the 2 reasons, or grand reason, as to why the Lord is going to destroy this place the way he's going to destroy it. And the way he's going to destroy this place is by destroying these nations greatly. This is what's being prepared on this earth. Verse 14, multitudes and multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. And during the time of Jehoshaphat, all of those nations that were named, which were supposed to come up against the children of Israel, ended up coming up against themselves and destroying themselves. And so the children of Israel were saved out of that situation. All right. So at the time, we had no hand to defend ourselves. And guess what? We don't have a hand in this war to defend ourselves. And yet Yahweh, through his son Yahweh Shai, is going to be defending us in all of this. The elect. All right. That's going to be our hand in all of this, is the hand of Yahweh through his son Yahweh Shai. Okay. And that's why in verse 16, as this reads too. Verse 15, I'll read first, but the point is in verse 16. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. But the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So there you go. So in the midst of this war, where these nations are going to grind to pieces, the Lord is going to be making his appearing, and he's going to get in the mixture of all of this. All right. This is what's being prepared on the earth. So we know that Yahweh Shai is near, right around the corner. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to play a little bit more to hear what else he got to say. I'm going to finish this for myself as well, if I get done doing these videos.
especially, of course, Iran and the Gulf countries.
Yeah, no, I've spoken a bit with David Sachs on email. I've been trying to get him on the program. He seems like a good guy, so
Yeah.
But but I was thinking as well that if the U.S. actually escalates one step further and go after Karg Island and Iran retaliates against the energy installations across the Gulf states, it doesn't really matter anymore if the Strait of Hormuz is open, if everything is in flames and destroyed. And of course, it's going to take much more than 20 days. And I also thought the same by opening the strategic reserves. It doesn't communicate a lot of confidence either when one is willing to deplete it to such an extent.
Yeah.
But you, with your colleague, you wrote, that is you and Sybil Ferris, you wrote about the 5 steps which Trump could take to put an end to this war. Essentially, off-ramp, which David Sachs advocated for. So if Trump reads it or calls you or listen to this podcast, what are these 5 steps you would advise?
Well, one is he's not going to call. Maybe David Sachs will read it.
If I could interject very quickly,
Yes.
you at one point before he got elected, now he actually tweeted out a video of you when you were talking about the Middle East. So he, I'm glad he listens to reason. But sorry for
Yes,
yeah.
and that was a video that warned about Netanyahu. I said that is one dark person. I used a little bit less temperate language, but I said that this is one big problem. And Trump tweeted that out at the time, a mystery. But what I said turned out to be absolutely right, which is that not only is Netanyahu Mr. Genocide, but now he is putting the whole Middle East in flames. And the whole world is going to come very soon to understand Israel created our global economic crisis. It's not.
And see, and this is the reason why everybody has to turn their heads around and look at the primal enemy of the planet Earth, and that it was never the so-called Negro. The so-called Negro with the hoodie on, named Jaquan or Jaquarius, however you want to pronounce these names, right, among our people. Like I said, we was never the problem. And you still have, silly ain't shit ass Edomites, which is to be expected. They're gonna still talk shit about Jake, on the X and what have you. I mean, it's to be expected. And I mean, much more now than ever. Because these devils, they're not doing too well. So they gotta find another reason to feel superior. But meanwhile, they have to face the reality. Or should I say, as the saying goes, they have to face the music, and the music is playing, and it's singing that they're in a dire situation. So now everybody has to be forced. Cognitive dissonance is a thing of the past now. Everyone has to be forced to look at how evil and mischievous, there you go, and mischievous that these J's are. And the mischievousness of these devils is going to simply bring the world to a halt. Just that little land over there in the east, right? It's going to pretty much bring the world to nothing, and it's going to get America into a war it can't get out of. Now, this guy, as you just heard him say, Glenn Dyson, is there any way that he can get out the war by 5 different things, right? And the way Iran is talking out here, it's like they want to keep this thing going. They're actually winning. Like I just found out some hours ago that they actually took down by 12 seconds their destroyer. And that destroyer is huge enough. All right. They even took down one of their destroyers, and that destroyer is pretty big to just take down, let alone 12 seconds. So, I mean, if they got the kind of firepower to take down something like that, then that means that America's no match to fight up against Iran yet again. It's impossible. And the thing with the Iranians, they're just getting started with their missiles. They haven't even exhausted all of what they got. To them, it's just they're just getting started with what they've shown already. All right, so we can clearly see that Israel and America ain't on no kind of level to defend themselves against Iran, just let alone, let's just say, if Russia gets involved in this, if China gets involved in this, it ain't gonna happen. Esau is in a lose-lose situation now. All right. And what makes matters even worse for Esau is the fact that the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is not even getting involved in this. It's like they're just leading them on. They're not saying anything. They're not talking to Trump. That's the way it looks to me. It's looking like they see what Trump's doing wrong, right? And it's like they're not even really there to say anything about what he's doing. They're just allowing him to do the messed up, undiplomatic shit just so America could get ousted. So it's all falling in line. We're all on schedule here. This is prophecy, baby. This is beautiful. And I'm going to get into that. I can't help but mention that again, man. Yeah, so anyway, let's even read this too. Let's read this as well, man. Number of U.S. troops wounded in Iran. War surpasses 200 across 7 countries. The injuries have occurred as Iran launches waves of missiles and one-way attack drones in response to the Trump administration expansive assault. That's all I'm going to read, right? So, we've said that, look, any of you jakes out there or people that join the military that want to fight to defend their nation, right, going over there in Iran, man, even one jake came out and said, man, right? But this jake, he was letting it be known that, look, man, like, this is not a good idea for us to fight against these Iranians, man. They're on a totally different level with it. So once again, America is in no shape or form match to even fight up against Iran, just based on how things are looking right now. Now, Iran is getting touched to a degree. They've been hit, right? But man, all of them bases is just being taken out by these Iranians, man. And like I said, they destroyed one of their destroyers in 12 seconds. All right. It's a war in it. It's a little war that's going on, but this thing could expand. This thing could be taken to a whole nother deal of it being a ginormous deal. All right. So we just have to wait and see what's going to be had, but things are looking pretty good out here, man. And if this happened just on a small degree, then just imagine when there's a full-fledged war. Listen, ain't nobody coming out of this war alive. All right. Especially you jakes that join the military. Y'all are going to be found laid on that soil where you're at. That's just going to be the end result of y'all, man. Proverbs 11 and verse 21, don't hand join in hand. The wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. Let's read this again in a different sense. Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord Yahweh. Though hand join in hand, he shall not be unpunished. Absolutely. So that's just what it is. You want to join forces? Well, guess what? You ain't coming back as a hero this time around. You're going to go back to the spiritual realm. So that's all I got to say with this, man. Shalom.